Namibian President their has passed away. The 82-year-old was the third president of Namibia since 2015. He was a former veteran of SWAPO who participated in the struggle to liberate Namibia. President Geingob was receiving medical treatment at Lady Pohamba Hospital in Windhoek, where he passed on. The Namibian government says he was surrounded by his family at the time of his passing. His death comes just weeks after he was diagnosed with cancer. Acting President Dr. Nangolo Mbumba says the cabinet will convene immediately to make funeral arrangements. This year, Namibia will go to elections, and Geingob was expected to hand over power after 2 terms in office. For more on the death of the Namibian president, we now speak to Sophie Mkwena, SABC News International Editor. Sophie, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. What more do we know about these latest developments?
Well, as you pointed out, it was early this year where we were told that President Geingob has got health challenges and he was diagnosed with cancer. And therefore, last week, it was again announced that he will be traveling to the United States of America for treatment. He went there and he came back, and it looks like it didn't really go well, and he was admitted to a hospital in Windhoek upon arrival, and that's where he passed on, surrounded by his family. It was almost early hours of this morning when he passed on, and now we are told that the acting president will be convening an urgent cabinet meeting this morning to make funeral arrangements, memorial, and perhaps to communicate information in terms of where to from here. As you know, that he was the leader of SWAPO, and also this year Namibia is going to elections, and therefore this is the time perhaps where the country was preparing for elections, and they will have to make certain arrangements. You know that they have already SWAPO identified a presidential candidate who is currently the Prime Minister of the Deputy Prime Minister of SWAPO of Namibia, and also she is the Foreign Affairs Minister of Namibia, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, and therefore I think these are some of the things that they'll have to deal with, because as you know that SWAPO is a governing party, but also it will have to prepare for elections. We know that the Prime Minister is currently the acting president, but they must deal with issues of transition.
And speaking of transition, Sophie, how much of an impact will his death have on the organizing of the upcoming elections?
Well, I think the good thing was that since last year, SWAPO was already preparing for this transition and handing over. I don't think it will be a huge problem. As I pointed out, they had already identified the presidential candidate, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, and therefore I can't see any challenges. And I think he was ready to leave office, and him having health challenges earlier this year, I think that led to even a vigorous process to ensure that there is smooth transition. You'd recall that he visited South Africa last year. During the state visit in South Africa, he also pointed out that he will be leaving office in 2024, and therefore we expect SWAPO to continue to campaign, and that presidential candidate will continue to be Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah.
Let's talk about his legacy. I know his death is still so fresh, especially for Namibians, but let's talk about his legacy since he took over office in 2015. And we do understand that Namibia condemned former colonial ruler Germany for rejecting a case at the UN's top court, accusing Israel of committing genocide in Gaza. Just, how much of an impact will this have on the international relations of Namibia when it comes to, the ongoing case at the ICJ?
You know, that has been involved with government since 1990 to 2002, where he was the first prime minister, and then again in 2012 to 2015, and in 2015 that's when he became the president, and therefore he has a strong legacy in terms of building Namibia But also there are people who will share a different view. As you know, that there's now opposition parties, including the EFF Namibia, in that parliament. And you'd recall during that news where there was a story around the Palapala matter where the president's farm, in relation to the president's farm, he was also mentioned, and the opposition local demanding answers the role that he played in terms of those people who fled to Namibia who were fingered in that robbery, or perhaps one can say housebreaking at the president's farm. And therefore, I think, those are the issues that comes to mind now. But generally, he has worked to put Namibia where the country is.
All right, Sophie, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for your update. We do appreciate
your call
time.
Has been placed on hold.
All right, that was SABC News International Editor Sophie Mkwena, just confirming the news and giving us more details about the death of Namibian President theiR, who died in the early hours of this morning.